Here we go then, Le Mans lifts off, put it on pole, Mental Nev in the Super. He's had a fantastic season. James Harman, one of the strong contenders for this race. P2 in the Chevrolet. Sweaty Keg in the V12 Vantage, he lines up P3. Rowdy Burns then, good qualifying for Rowdy Burns, the number 58 car, he lines up P4. P5, Ice Chad, a great result for the McLaren team, they're P5. ESR Weidel in the Peugeot in P6, with Sarthe in the other McLaren in P7. They've had a good qualifying. Tricky Tree in the other Corvette down in P8. Tricky Tree didn't do a lot of, I don't think he did any practice for this one. Infinity Decals in the other Aston Martin, he's in P9 with Marshall in the Aeon Flux Subaru in P10. P11 occupied by Sarthe in the Lonely Dodge. In P12 is myself in the Nissan, just wasn't feeling it today, and C Trickle, our last car on the grid, P13 for C Trickle and number 46. It's the last GT3 race of the Infinity GT Manufacturers Series, live from France. As you saw the starting grid there, it's a good run to the first braking zone as all cars get away well. A couple of the Corvettes getting absolutely flyers of start. Sir James Harman already up into the lead of the race, with the Aston Martin of Sweaty Keg breathing down his Mental Nev is actually dropping to quite a few places here. Rowdy Burn in the Hyundai. Oh, he goes really deep there, does Rowdy Burns. Let's go out back and have a look at that and just see what happens to this on board the dishwasher. Oh, he has to take to the escape road almost and get out of the way of everybody else, so that's going to put him quite far down the field. Myself in the Nissan. Yeah, Nissan was just a bit of a boat here, I'm afraid. Currently just on the back of Sarthe. Marshall 2012 up to P9. Sarthe, a good start for him, P8. Meanwhile, the Mental Nev after the dishwasher took itself out of contention. Just having to defend here a little bit to Ice Chand, and just trying to keep in the slipstream of the Aston Martin. Ice Chand actually popping out of the slipstream very early. That's not going to work out well for the McLaren. As I say that, his fellow Brit gives him a bit more slipstream, so the McLaren here could get a nice actually little overshoot on both cars. Holding my breath, waiting to see what happens. Mental Nev holds it then into the first Mulsanne chicane. With Ice Chand in hot pursuit, currently in P3. Sweaty Kegs had to drop back a little bit. Then Rowdy Burns after that off recovered into P5. Tricky Tree P6 in the other Corvette. Idle in P7. Sarthe in P8. Marshall in P10. But there's a big old scrap here. There's myself in the Nissan. I've got myself up to P9, but I'm going to have some defending to do, as I've got an Aston Martin right up my chuff. Well, then Nissan with the slipstream though, he's just buggering off here in a straight line. I didn't actually seem to have the top end I kind of expected it to have from a lot of cars though. And staying at P9 for the time being though, Sarthe and Idle having a good fight. Viper should be a superior straight line car, and given he's got some slipstream from the cars ahead, I'm just going to flick up here. Ice Chand with the slipstream's got a move made on Mental Nev. I'm trying to push ESR Weidel along. Oh, we've got a spinner in the background. That was Infinity Decals in the Toro Morto. C Trickles just managed to stave off disaster, and myself on the back of that Peugeot. See more moves happening up ahead. Mental Nev tries to get that P2 position back. He has indeed got it back. James Harman though, he's piling out a little bit of a lead here. This fight is helping James immensely just break away from the pack a little bit. I've just managed to get myself ahead of the Peugeot now. Peugeot kicks up a cloud of dust in the background. Myself now chasing down the Dodge Viper. You see little bits of glitching. I was suffering with a bit of a poor connection this round. I was seeing this a lot worse than a lot of others were, because from my side of the connection was just dreadful. So whenever I was near a car, it was diabolically bad. So kind of restricting me from racing. You're going to see that happen very soon. I catch up to these guys very quickly and take myself off. Now, I don't know if this will catch it from my perspective. CJW-Racing suddenly appears in front of me and I take myself off the track, basically. Yeah, my side was worse than that. So yeah, I end up putting myself in the gravel, basically. So P9 for me, right down at the back of the pack. It's worthwhile noting, as he carries a little bit of a penalty, James Harben's livery. If I've done this correctly, I'll have done a little preview of that car. What James has done, he put a little shout out to the community in plenty of time and asked people to nominate sort of charities, anything they wanted to give a shout out to. And he's covered his car, he spent ages doing that. And that's his little homage to the crap year we're having, and just wanting to do something to hopefully give people a little bit of recognition. I've got a logo on there. I'm running a local charity to me that's helped me out in the past, a charity called Mentalk. They've helped me out immensely with obviously mental health stuff. They're running on the nose, actually. They've got a prime position. James Harben at the minute leading the way as we start the second lap at Sarthe. A very long lap here. Just under 4 minutes was the top times. Ice still buggering the top, guys. He's absolutely on it today, his Ice Chan. I mean, he's got to pop out of the slipstream, but the top 4 at the minute are really starting to break away. Mental Level with a great drive out that last corner. And now is Mental Level going to do the unspeakable thing and take the lead of the race and declare his hatred of charities. Because Ice Chan, who had to back off that. James Harben tries to serve his penalties there. Mental Nev now in the lead, James Harben behind, Ice Chan in P3 with Rowdy Burns right behind him. So Rowdy then has had a great recovery so far. A little bit further back we've got CJW-Racing, Tricky Tree, Sweaty Keg, Idle, myself not having a good day in the Nissan. You can see the glitching that's going on in the car. Marshall in P10, we've got Surfer P11, C Trickle in P12 and Infinity Decals P13 for the Toro Moto at the minute. Coming into the second chicane then down at Mulsanne. Rowdy Burns up to P2, James Harben all the way down in P4 now. The slipstream battle, and this will happen a lot in this race. You will see positions change a lot while ever they're in this slipstream train. Once you're out of it, game over. So as long as you can stay in the slipstream train, you've got a chance. Tricky Tree's punching all in the air for CJW-Racing and Sweaty Keg. ESR Idle's just on the back of that as well, but I was just out of slipstream range in the Nissan. Really struggling to reel these guys back in again. And again, like I said, when I got close, it was just nigh on impossible to actually race with people. A little bit of a scrap kicking off. Surfer down there, we've got past Marshall. The Aeon Flux Subaru is trying his best to get back in the fight. C Trickle probably just out of slipstream range there. Infinity Decals way out of anyone's range. Looking back for Mental Nev's car. He's had a great season, Mental Nev, as this is the penultimate race. He wanted a good result out of this one, wanted to sort of solidify his championship. He's had a great season in that Toyota and has proved to be a sturdy competitor. James Harben, you can just see him at the back of your at the back of this pack. That's Ice Chan behind the dishwasher, and a little bit further back is James Harben. As Rowdy Burns cooks it a little bit too hot into the Porsche curves there. Well, that's gonna let Chand in the McLaren, which is a superior handling car. Gonna have to go around the outside. Rowdy Burns gonna have to give him this corner, I'm afraid, because yeah, he was on the other nose ahead. Good move there by Ice Chan. And if those two fight, that's good news for James Harben. Let's jump back to the exterior cameras and have a flick through and see what's going on. Anything happening? Top 4 breaking away. CJW is starting to pull away. He's had a fantastic race so far. P5 for him now. Tricky Tree, who went into this with little or no practice, like me. In a car that, let's be honest, should be dominant here, but without the practice you just can't extract the best out of it. I've reeled in idle now, so I'm back in this fight. So I'm just about winning over Marshall. I see Trickle starting to get caught by Infinity Decals. That lap of 408 and 404 for Infinity Decals that time around, so he's really on the pace. 358 though is the best time for NextLevel as this 4-car train starts lap number 3. SimFx in kind of no man's land for the Dodge Viper then. But he is of course at risk of being caught by this horrible lot. Another special shout out to ESR Idle. Don't know what we're going on with his liveries today. I don't know if it would, again that might be an internet glitch, but he's had a great season, helped by me missing races of course, Mr. Idle, but there we go. Nevertheless, he has driven exceptionally well this time round. As he gets that move made on Sweaty Keg for P7. He's got a challenge Tricky Tree as well, who's very early on the brakes into there. James Harmon, meanwhile, a little bit further up, has got himself into P2. There's been an incident somewhere. Let's have a look. Yes, there has been an incident. Was this Ice Chan just taking himself off? Oh no, he got collected. Let's go on board the dishwasher. So Ice Chan has a look at NextLevel. Decides he gets on. You see how early then Ice Chan got on. Rowdy Burns kind of went the wrong way, but avoided him, and does the sportsman-like thing of waiting for the car to return to racing speed ahead of him. It's probably the right way of putting it. So credit where credit's due to Rowdy Burns. The sportsman-like behaviour has shone through. I'm having a terrible day in the Nissan. But I'm lapping quicker than the cars out. The cars out are in the 403s, 402s. I'm in the 359s. So I'm alright with that. That's not a bad pace so far. One of the better sounding cars on the grid, I will argue. But Nev Hates Charities is far ahead in the lead now. He's got James Harmon reeling him in a 4:01 that time for James Harmon. So you can see how much time he lost behind the Toyota. Of course, Toyotas have been dominant at Le Mans and the 24-hour race, but in their LMP variants. These cars do race here in GT3 or GTE, as they're called in the in this sort of scenario, let's say. But the Corvette is always a strong contender in that one. Another one that's a strong contender is the Aston Martin. But currently they are down in P8 and pretty much fighting for last as well. We don't see many GTRs hanging around. You can see why, they're shocking. It's just a big boat. The McLaren, the 650S, of course, now replaced by the 720S. So hopefully the next version or an update will contain the updated vehicles. We can live in hope. Okay, so that's pretty much the opening of the race sorted. So now we know who's who. Let's see what's what. So he joins on lap 6 then. All cars have made their first pit stop. And a little bit of a news update and recap of the event. So NextLevel still winning. Quite a gap now over James Harmon in the Corvette. Carrying a little bit of a penalty. Sarthe was ridiculous for this. You even went near the track limits bit and it stamped you with a penalty. So you will see this a lot today. It'll be a bit of a theme. James at the minute doing well in the Corvette. Rowdy Burns in the dishwasher. P3 then. With Ice Chan not too far behind him. Both entering the same corner complex at about the same sort of time. And Ice Chan ride the curb there. We'll get about a year's worth of penalties. Sweaty Keg extended his stint by another lap. So he went until the end of lap 5 rather than the end of lap 4 like most people were doing. So a lot of fuel saving for Sweaty Keg. He's just hoping to make up time in the pit stop, so we'll see where he ends up. Tricky Tree, P6 for Tricky Tree. Surfer Ev in at P7. He's been enjoying a battle with Marshall 2012, who's now got involved with a battle with ESR Idle in the Peugeot. Idle gets through using the slipstream then, but will Marshall just get that place straight back again, under braking for the second Mulsanne chicane? So we're going to be down who's better on the brakes. A little bit of door contact on entry, but plenty of respect given ultra sideways McLaren. He's on board with the McLaren Surfer Ev. I think he's just going to cook it on exit. Yeah, he went light on the brakes there, took far too much speed in, and unfortunately for Surfer Ev, that's going to put him backwards. So I see SR Idle and Marshall continuing their fight. Let's keep an eye on this down as we come to the end of the straight. And does Marshall go for the move back in the Subaru? Not quite close enough at this minute in time. They just have to stay as they are. A little bit further back, Infinity Decals, P9 then in the Toro Moto. SimFx, who was running really high up in the race, just lost a lot of time in the pits. And he's down in P10 with Surfer Ev now after that spin in P11 and C-Trickle P12. One retirement from the race, that's me. The internet was just that bad. Whenever I was near another car, it was all over the shop, so I decided I didn't want to ruin anyone's race and retired the car for the day. So that's me out of all contention. So we're down to 12 runners then, as Mental Nev leads away, completing lap number 6. James Harman still getting a little bit of a penalty, setting purple sectors late in the lap. So he's found his rhythm, he's starting to go for it a little bit more. We might see that gap between him and Mental Nev close down a little bit now. About halfway through the race, so it turned into a bit of a strategic race at this point. So who can keep up the pace and save the fuel? Because if you can save the fuel, you have to make multiple pit stops here at Le Mans. Oh, I was going to get a year's worth of penalty for that there, James, I think. And the game will go, no, how dare you ride the curb. I'm going to slap you with a penalty. 58-1 then for James Harman on those fresh, super sticky tyres. So Ice Chan not too far away from Rowdy Burns for that P3 spot, so that could be a battle that will heat up. Sweaty Keg, we've not seen the best from Sweaty Keg yet, because his race tends to come to him at the end, so he's probably planning on a 2-stop, whereas most other people will need to do a 3. ESR Idle and Marshall still having a little battle. I think Marshall's being a busy boy today. Surfer Ev will want to reel them back in again. You just see him coming into the shot now behind SimFx, so that's how much time visually that spin's cost Surfer Ev. He's got a lot of work now to do to make that up, but Idle leading away to the Subaru. The Aston Martin going rogue and off the track. SimFx P10 in the Viper, Surfer Ev P11 in the McLaren, and the C-Trickle's pitting. Did he really go that long? Has he gone 6 laps? Might have extended his medium stint. Who knows? I've got to be honest, C-Trickle, I apologise for that if I missed a master stroke there, but if you're going for the one-stop race, my friend, brave man. So James Harman, I think he's captured Mental Nev. He was a second and a bit quicker last time round. A second and a bit over a 4-minute lap, though, in terms of distance isn't that much, so it's a big old long lap here. So James needs to try and get this made back in the pit stops. Rowdy Burns up with the fastest lap so far, 57.7, and going quicker. Ice Chan that time around was a 58.1, so he's dropping back from that fight. Sweaty Keg, a 55 is his pit out lap. He's on target to go sub 4 minutes, but of course we know Sweaty Keg likes to save his fuel. Tricky Tree's last lap was a 4 minute .4. Marshall was a 405 that time round, Idol was a 402, so was Infinity Decals, so was Sarthe. 416 for Surfer Rev with that spin, but he can do 401s in that car. Sea Trickle in the teens, but going exceptionally slowly to save fuel. What's the point? It's not racing, is it? They know my thoughts on fuel saving. Right, so 27 minutes in. Let's see if this closes up again. So Mental Nev's pitted. Where's he going to come out? He's going to come out behind Ice Chand. So he's pitted a lap earlier than I expected. I expected him to pit at the end of lap 8. But he's pitted a lap early. He did only have a little bit of fuel left, so he needed to pit. So that was a very thirsty stint for Mental Nev that time round. So that's promoted James Harben to the leader of the race. I'm expecting him in the end of this lap. At which point Mental Nev should get the lead of the race back again. Someone else has gone quicker than Rowdy Burns that time round. 57.2 was his last time. That was the fastest lap of the race. Let's see who is pumping in the fast ones. Who was it? It was Sweaty Keg. 57.21 for Sweaty Keg that time round. He's putting the hammer down now. So he's had his slow first stint. He's now going to go fast. So where's he? P5. Just behind Mental Nev. In terms of on-track action, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have too much to show you right at this second in time, but as these races tend to do, they do tend to close up towards the end. So while the strategic game of chess is being played, let's cut to something else. So leader in the pit lane, let's see if anyone else joins him. Does Rowdy Burns dive in? Yes, he does. Does Ice Chan dive in the McLaren? A late move, but in he goes. Mental Nev then is going to assume the lead of the race yet again. James Harben's getting some motion lotion pumped in his car. Sweaty Keg. Sweaty Keg stayed out. He's going to stay out, of course, because he pitted the last time round. 56.2 now for Sweaty Keg, so he is really on the go fast button. See James Harben there exiting the pit lane. P3 for James Harben. So this strategic game of chess plays another move. Lots of cars in the pit lane now getting juiced. Sarthe joins them. Surfer Rev, who had that fall off the other lap, that's kind of dropped him out of the slipstream chain, I'm afraid, and he's picked up a track cut infringement for something I didn't even see. Infinity Decals also with a track cut infringement for something I didn't see. Yes, I'm Idle. I think he pitted the last lap, so no wonder he's back. Yeah, he's on an out lap look, so he should regain a couple of places. What happens? What's happened to Surfer Rev there? He's going slowly. Is he trying to burn his penalties? I want to say he is. I want to say he's gone to burn his penalties off, look. There we go. So the McLaren driver getting rid of some of his penalties. The rules, as long as you got rid of them within 2 laps, always good. So Infinity Decals going to try and get the move made on the outside. Oh, Marshall's there as well. Lovely move by Infinity Decals. He wouldn't have seen that Subaru until quite late on. So obviously dipping in for the slipstream then. The McLaren's going to block his view of the pit lane. There's the Subaru. The Subaru just stay out of the way. But he's entitled to a portion of the racetrack. Lovely driving there by Infinity Decals. 2 cars in 1. He is, of course, now going to be making a hole in the air for everybody down the Mulsanne straight. Well, we'll see how that creeps on then. So Sweaty Keg with his incredible pace has been reeling in the leader. So 56.2 last time round for the Aston Martin driver. James Harben not too far behind these guys, but out of the slipstream train. Ice Chan now down in P5, but just pitted. Let's see how this little scrap envelops then. We've got 4 different manufacturers represented on the straight. see the Peugeot go for a move, backs out of it, so it's as they were. Oh, the McLaren's getting all sorts of sideways. The SR Rider's going to try and slip down the inside. There's no room for him though, so he has to back out of it. That could drop these guys out the slipstream train from the cars ahead. ESR Rider's going to need a slingshot now to get that extra momentum and get himself up the order. He does get past Sarthe. They're just getting some slipstream, I think. Sarthe going to go for the move back. He's got a nose in here, so I'd like to leave in the room. Sarthe backed out of it. Yes, I would have gone deep. That in the eyes of the French race director is worth about 6 years in the gulag. That is for going anywhere near the track limits here. I think he's escaped. The cameras obviously weren't watching him. Infinity Decals then, after my fear that he'd just be punching a hole in the air for everyone. He's actually managed to escape a little bit. These two have started scrapping away with each other. Very close between the Peugeot and the McLaren. McLaren just about coming out ahead. Oh, Marshall's had an off. Has he done what I did and broke too late there? He has. Those front brakes glowing hot. And off he goes into the gravel. So right down at the back of that little fight now, and he will get reeled in very quickly by the Dodge Viper SimFx. Meanwhile, at the top of the tree, NextLevel. I wonder when he'll pit again. I can't work out what his strategy quite is now. He's evidently put his foot down a little bit though, because he's a second faster through that lap so far than he ever has been. Makes me wonder what Sweaty Keg's going to do with him. A little bit of distance between the two at the minute. NextLevel's actually quite safe. Does he pit? Is he going to pit again? No, he's going to carry on for this lap. Sweaty Keg, he has to pit. So in he comes now. 36 minutes of a lap, so 15 race minutes remaining. And James Harmon's going to go on for another one. Rowdy Burns, is he going to come into the pit lane this time around? I want to say not, because he's just pitted onto here. He stays out. Ice Chand, also another car that's just pitted, so he's going to be staying out. In fact, most of these cars have indeed pitted. Yes, our Idol's managed to pull away a little bit from Sarthe. I think it's starting to close up a little bit. But we are about 10 minutes away from this one concluding in race time. So as I said then, 10 minutes to go, and NextLevel's going to stream himself into the pit lane. The question now is how much fuel's he got left in that car. So he's going to come in with 5%. James Harmon's pitting as well. If he's got more, this could make it really interesting. 53%. So James Harmon having to do a lap less than the car ahead because of his fuel strategy. So he might put himself back in contention for a result here then. Rowdy Burns is going to carry on, but he pitted not so long ago because he's kind of out of contention now. So where does James Harmon come out in relation to NextLevel? So James Harmon's putting a lot more fuel in than the Toyota. Excuse me, I've dropped my controller. It's just on board with Sweaty Keg anyway. It's not a bad view. Professional. I am a professional, ladies and gentlemen. So James Harmon's there. Let's check the timing screen. He's about 6 seconds back. NextLevel then getting hassled and harried by the dishwasher. One of the only drivers I've rarely seen with a penalty actually, NextLevel, so he's obviously got his track limits down. NextLevel's not going to fight this too much. There's not really any point. He's not directly racing Rowdy Burns at this stage. Say that, start knocking 10 bells of crap out of each other. Rowdy Burns now into the lead of the race, but we do think he's going to have to pit soon. Probably can't make it to the end on the fuel he's got remaining. So a few pit stops are going to happen again very soon, I think. to shake up the order once more. So let's give this last 5 minutes the credit it deserves. Uninterrupted coverage from here to the end of the race. So NextLevel is currently your race leader, but he's having a little bit of a fight with Rowdy Burns, and that's let James Harben catch up. That last lap for James was 55.0, that's not right. 56.2 for NextLevel. I don't know why that's showing as a 55.0 for James. It can't be right. It would be purple. Sweaty Keg with 56.2, fastest lap so far, P4. Not far behind James Harben either. Ice Chan P5 at the minute for the McLaren. A great result for the McLaren so far, actually. McLaren shouldn't be that fast around here at all. Tricky Tree in the Corvette. Starting to get used to the track a bit more and starting to put some quicker times down. Marshall's had a very eventful race. He's been fighting pretty much the entirety of it. P7 at the minute in the Subaru. Idle P8 then for Idle in the Peugeot. Damage limitation for him as we see some racing happening here, ladies and gentlemen. Some actual racing's in danger of happening here with Sarthe and Infinity Decals. This shouldn't happen at the moment. It should just be a slipstream fest and save the fuel. But these two are racing. How dare they? SFF P11 then in the other sister McLaren, and C Trickle P12 for C Trickle. But don't forget, he was going on that very ambitious strategy, which just hasn't worked out. Just lost too much time in the stint. So running very lean fuel. Rowdy Burns then, having got past NextLevel down one of the many straights, is back into the lead of the race. James Harben not too far behind these two. Does NextLevel go for a move? He's going to think about it. Doesn't end up getting that move made in the end. Now these guys, a lot of these guys will get another lap in, some won't. So basically, once we use that timer in the lower left-hand corner, can I get my mouse active? Can I do this? This is timer here. That's the one you want to be watching. Once that hits 50 minutes, the flag will drop, and anyone that crosses a line after that time, their race is over. If you get over the line before the flag drops, you get another lap, which some of these guys may have calculated for in their strategy. Some of them won't, so we might actually see some lean fuel issues, but we'll see how that goes. So I think Rowdy Burns, NextLevel, James Harben and Sweaty Keg will get another lap in. They've got 2 minutes remaining. With a lap taking about 4 minutes. Ice Chand and Tricky Tree should get through as well, but Marshall and Idle, as it stands, very much on the brink of missing out on the 13th lap. Sarthe, Infinity Decals, Surfrev and C Trickle I don't think are going to get another lap in after this one, so this is their last lap. But Rowdy Burns setting purple sectors through the Porsche curves. You see James Harben come back through your shot there. These guys are going to know they've got another lap to do. The glitching you see on screen from Rowdy Burns, whenever he was on, we had this glitching. Rowdy's going to come in, I'm guessing he's going to run. Is he going to run his mediums? So he comes in on soft, so if he comes out of mediums, we know that's what's happening. So James Harben's going to come across the line, and what is the gap between him and NextLevel on the last lap of the race? He goes even faster, so the gap is 2 seconds. 56.7 that time around for James Harben, 58.0 for NextLevel. So, with a 2 second gap between these two, this could get spicy. Sweaty Keg stays out. Rowdy Burns, he's out on the mediums, yeah, so he's going to he's going to run the mediums for lap. Ice Chand, splash and dash for Ice Chand. He's going to go on the softs, I'd imagine. Get some fast laps in. Tricky Tree was out of fuel. Did he run out of fuel coming into the pit lane? He might have done. These guys are going to get another lap. Let's see, and then we'll go back up and see who's still running. So Marshall drifting that. He's slowing down. He wants this over with. Idle's going to get another lap in, is he? Infinity Decals slows down as well. These guys don't want to do another lap. Infinity Decals finishes in 8th, Marshall in 9th, Sarthe in P10. SimFx is on a prematurely spin his car, but quite safe for that P11 anyway. And C Trickle is now guaranteed P12, out of fuel as well in that car. So, last lap shenanigans then for these two. So the gap is 2.1 seconds. James Harben, lap of his life now to try and get his charity car on the top step of the podium. Sweaty Keg dropped away a little bit from that. He dropped a lot of time last lap. In terms of actual racing this lap round, there's no danger of any of that kicking off. All 7 cars pretty fairly spaced. We'll keep an eye out on the top 2. Let's jump on board actually with James Harben and just get a sense of what that Corvette's like around this famous circuit. And steady on the brakes. He's not pushing the car beyond its limits. Still quite steady, I'd imagine. Gap. And the gap's come down to 1.6 seconds now. So James Harben through the Mulsanne straight complex has managed to take 4 tenths off the race leader. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a decent amount of time in racing. We are coming towards the latter part of the lap now. Down through Indianapolis, is it? My worst corner coming up. This tight right hand, it's a lot tighter than it looks. You can't really carry the speed through here. 50-60 miles an hour is the most you can do that. And into the Porsche curves, and NextLevel coming through, and he is so James Harben's took another couple of tenths out of him there. James overfueled though, so got to be honest, James, if you hadn't overfueled, what could have been, I think. Very, very, very close indeed between these two. So, unless NextLevel makes a mistake, I think he's pretty safe. He's doing his personal best lap as well. So NextLevel's not hanging around this time. And Toyota will continue their dominance at Le Mans. Down through the final stadium complex to seal the last GT3 race of this series. NextLevel's going to take it across the line to claim P1. Very close at the end between him and James Harben. James very close eventually, as he's setting a personal best 56.1. Then Sweaty Keg going to come across sideways. I do appreciate a good drift across the line. Rowdy Burns. A great race for Rowdy Burns, it has to be said. Nice and consistent, was battling for the lead at parts, but had to splash and dash towards the end. P4 for him. Ice Chance, probably higher than any McLaren should ever be at this track. P5, he will be chuffed with that, no doubt. Some great laps in there as well, some very good racing. Ice Chance will be pleased. Is he going to go sideways? Of course he is. Beautiful work, my friend. Tricky treat, he likes a drift as well. I think he might just want this one over. And ESR idle. Damage limitation for the Peugeot. That car was pretty much purely chosen on its group, on its GT4 ability, sorry. The GT3 car. It's not woeful, but it's definitely not the fastest. So that's it for the GT3s then. The one race remaining is the GT4s over at Nürburgring, so we're going to be covering that one in a slightly separate video. Showing you on screen, just about to disappear off and come back again, is James Harben's GT3 car. You may have noticed it's a little bit different this time around. So what he did was he popped a little message out to everyone, asked them to basically submit anything that they wanted to represent, heavily focused on charities, things that were close to them. Been a bit of a shambolic year, and I think James just wanted to show a little bit of support and shout out some charities that mean a lot to him and others. I've got a logo on there, Mentor, charity to me, but the livery is over on GT Sport if you want to go and have a look. That's it. I'll leave you with this fleeting shot of a Corvette, and I'll see you in the next video over at Nürburgring. Thanks for watching as always.